What the wealthy farmer learns by humiliating the novice apprentice becomes an unexpected lesson. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen breeze. Strayed shadows flickered across the cracked walls, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whispered warning, while outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf sent chills down the spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. The air grew thick with anticipation as unexplained lights danced in the darkness, and the townsfolk's hushed rumors spoke of an ancient curse that no one dared to challenge. Each strange occurrence piled upon the last, weaving a tangled web of mystery that pulled the reader deeper into the story, craving to know what sinister forces were at play. The land held history, but today it simmered with a different tension. Peter, the wealthy farmer, stood tall under an expansive sky. His arrogance matched the size of his fortune, while the vibrant fields around him thrived, casting shadows over the simple lives of his laborers. Charlie, a novice with dirt-stained hands and determination in his eyes, struggled to adapt. He felt the earth's pulse, its whispers granting him a connection to the land that Peter could never understand. Yet the arrogance of one met the humility of another in a bitter clash. "You call that work?" Peter sneered, belittling Charlie with a voice thick with disdain. The laughter of the seasoned workers cut through Charlie's spirit, leaving a lump in his throat. But he did not falter. Deep down he felt a spark, an understanding that the land held more than just crops. It held stories. And then, as the sky darkened, an unexpected storm began to brew on the horizon, swirling ominously. Thunder rolled like a freight train, crashing through the peaceful facade that Peter had built around his empire. A violent wind whipped through the fields, tearing at the crops that had been nurtured with such care. The storm was here, and with it came an overwhelming sense of urgency. Peter's arrogance faltered as he watched his fortune face the wrath of nature. Suddenly, the very wealth he had used to shield himself felt like shackles. With the storm approaching, both men were forced into an unlikely alliance. "Help me save the harvest," Peter shouted, desperation clawing at the edges of his voice. Charlie nodded, heart pounding. This was the moment where grudges could bend, a chance for redemption carved from the chaos of the storm. As they worked side by side, unearthing buried family secrets emerged, igniting a conflict swirling through their community. Charlie's unwavering strength became a beacon. But would Peter allow empathy to guide him, or would he cling to selfishness just when hope hovered on the other side of the storm? Churning clouds loomed over them as the distant rumble of thunder echoed. Would they overcome not only the storm, but their own inner storms? The mystery remained thick in the air, leaving readers hungering for what lay ahead. The wind howled as Peter and Charlie fought against the torrent. Rain pelted down, stinging like tiny needles on their skin. They moved quickly, hands working in a panic to save the harvest. "Get the equipment!" Peter shouted, his voice nearly lost in the roar of the storm. Charlie nodded, but the urgency seized him, muscles screaming as he rushed for the tractor. But then, a sharp crack split the air, louder than thunder. A tree, old and gnarled, toppled with a gut-wrenching thud just a few yards away, sending a spray of dirt and splinters flying. Both men froze. The air shifted, heavy with the smell of wet earth, and something else, something off. Suddenly, a low, terrified scream pierced through the chaos. It came from the farmhouse. Charlie's heart leaped into his throat. "That's my sister!" he gasped, eyes wide in horror. Without thinking, he bolted towards the house, abandoning Peter and the harvest. The door creaked ominously as he pushed it open, a chill racing down his spine. Inside, the familiar warmth was gone, replaced by something cold and foreboding. Charlie's chest tightened. "Ella!" he called, voice trembling. Silence hung in the air like a thick fog. He rushed through the dimly lit rooms, adrenaline pushing him forward, until he reached the main living area. There, in the flickering candlelight, stood his sister, eyes wide, staring into a mirror, not at herself, but at something behind her. "Stop!" she screamed, voice cracking. Panic flooded Charlie's veins. He stumbled toward her. "Ella, what's wrong?" he croaked. But the reflection in the mirror did not change. Instead, he saw shadows, twisting, swirling in a grotesque dance. Something dark writhed beneath the surface, pulling him in with a magnetic force. Then a familiar voice echoed in the room, low and mocking. "You should have stayed out of it, Charlie." It was Peter, standing in the doorway, drenched, but with a sinister grin on his face. "Looks like you've been too curious." "What do you mean?" Charlie gasped, confusion blurring his thoughts. Peter stepped closer, and with each step the shadows in the mirror seemed to pulse and grow. "This land isn't just crops and soil. It's far more than that. It holds memories, secrets, and purses." He rasped. The chill of realization swept through Charlie. How could Peter know? Charlie and Ella had sworn never to speak of their family's dark past, their ties to the cursed land. Then Ella turned, her face pale and hollow, eyes devoid of warmth. "Charlie, I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice a mere ghost of itself. "I didn't want this." A tremor shook the room. The candle flickered violently, illuminating the mirror as a face emerged from the shadows. Long lost, twisted features looked back at them. An ancestral spirit, forgotten but now demanding to be seen, was clawing its way back into their lives. Peter's face morphed from smug to panic as the reality of the situation dawned on him. Charlie's heart raced. What had they awakened? What had they triggered with their arrogance and secrets? The room swirled around them, fear wrapping around Charlie's heart. Was this worse? The storm outside raged on, drowning out their muffled cries. In an instant, the mirror shattered, shards flying like projectiles, embedding into walls and wood. "No!" Peter roared as he lunged forward. But it was too late. The bond of blood and land had been broken, and now nothing would ever be the same. As the dust settled, a chilling silence blanketed the scene. What had been unleashed, and how would it change them all? Charlie stood frozen, heart pounding as dread seeped into every corner of his mind. What dark truths lay buried in their family's history, and who would pay the price? The room was suspended in chaos, every heartbeat echoing like a ticking clock, each second steeped in dread. Charlie's heart pounded, the weight of fear crushing against his ribs. Ella's voice whispered in the chilling silence, "Charlie, I didn't want this." Then, suddenly, without warning, the walls of the farmhouse began to shudder and groan, as if the very foundation were protesting. Peter staggered back, eyes darting from the shattered mirror to the shadows pulsating in the corners. A low rumble deepened the tension, swelling like an ominous wave. And then it hit. The ground opened up beneath them. A violent tremor rocked the house, sending Ella sprawling. Charlie lunged to catch her, solidifying his grip around her wrist just as the floor cracked wide. Splinters erupted into the air like shrapnel, and, in that exact moment, a darkness unfurled from the chasm that swallowed the light. It wasn't just shadows. A figure emerged, an echo from the past, the embodiment of their family's cursed history. Charlie's stomach twisted as he recognized the face. "No, it can't be!" He stumbled back, eyes widened in horror. "Gramps?" The ancient spirit, twisted and grotesque, shimmered with a sickly glow, its gaze fixed on Charlie with deep malice. "You think secrets stay buried?" it rasped, its voice dripping with disdain. "Taxes of blood must be paid." Charlie's breath hitched, a lump forming in his throat. What had been unleashed was not merely an ancestral specter, but the very essence of their family's shame. A truth they had hoped to escape. Ella's eyes widened, realization dawning like a sunrise tinged with dread. "Charlie, it's a warning!" she shouted, panic radiating off her. But the spirit stepped closer, trembling with dark energy. "You, Charlie, you are the key. Your bond with this land will decide everything. Accept it or face the consequences." Confusion set in Charlie's mind like thick fog. Had his connection to the land always been this entwined with darkness? The thought coiled around him, tightening like a noose. Then came a secondary shock, more powerful than the first. Peter, once the embodiment of arrogance, stared, unblinking, at the figure. A smirk curled his lips as he stepped forward, shifting from terror to fascination. "It's true," he said, voice low. "You've always been special, Charlie. I've seen your potential, the power." "What?" Charlie's voice trembled, panic swirling into betrayal. "You knew? You were using me?" But Peter just laughed, a sound that echoed eerily in the room, intertwining with the storm outside. "Using you? No. I want what you've always denied. Everything you've been trying to hide. It's your birthright. You could have everything." As the spirit writhed, the truth sliced through Charlie like a knife. It wasn't just about the curse. It was about choice. Peter had manipulated him. Had he ever cared about the boy working the land? Or was it always about power? Shadows threatened to suffocate him. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, the spirit howling in rage as if they were all trespassers in a fate that had already been written. "You think you can control the past? You are wrong," it thundered. With a sudden rush, a wall of wind pulled at their bodies, like a vortex, dragging them closer to the truth, but also to destruction. Charlie felt his grip on Ella slip. "Ella!" he screamed as darkness reached for her. Then, in that critical moment, he realized what he had to do. A decision loomed over him, heavy and dangerous. Would he embrace the darkness to save her, or fight against a destiny that felt inescapable? As chaos erupted and the storm surged outside, Charlie stood at the precipice of his choices. What would he become? Would he rise, or would he fall into the darkness? And in the unfolding nightmare, the looming question remained: who really holds the power? As chaos erupted, Charlie's pulse raced, the air thick with impending doom. The figure loomed closer, its presence suffocating. "You decide, Charlie," the spirit croaked, voice shaking the floor. Around him, the storm howled, a wild beast unleashed. "Ella!" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. Thunder cracked, echoing his fear. In that moment, the darkness became a tangible force, pushing against him, threatening to swallow them whole. But then, the ground trembled again. This wasn't just a tremor. It felt like the heartbeat of the earth itself, throbbing with anger. Suddenly, the walls contorted, as if the very house resented their presence. A blinding flash split the air, blurring all sight for a breathless second. When the world returned into focus, a figure appeared. Not the malevolent spirit, but a woman, tall, fierce, radiant. Her hair danced like flames, her expression one of ancient wisdom and deep sorrow. "I'm here to stop this," she boomed, her voice crashing like waves against rocks. Peter stepped back, mouth agape. "Who are you?" he stammered. Fear gripped him, twisting his features, as if he finally saw reality for what it was. "I am Clara," she declared, and the air shivered with power. "Your bloodline is tainted, Peter. But the curse doesn't start with you. It's hidden in the shadows." Charlie squinted, confusion swirling in his mind. "What do you mean?" he asked, heart hammering, disbelief anchoring him in place. Clara turned, eyes blazing as they pierced through the haze of chaos. "It's connected to you, Charlie. You are the key to breaking this cycle, my child." That word hung in the air like a fragile whisper, striking deep into Charlie's chest. What? The ground shook violently again, and in that turmoil, the truth rushed forward. Memories collided in Charlie's mind. Fragments of laughter, of warmth. She'd been gone all this time. "No, you can't be. You left." Her gaze softened, pain weaving into her features. "I thought I was protecting you, but the darkness surged. I had to hide, to survive. I never meant to abandon you." "And now you show up?" Peter hissed, venom lacing his voice. "You think your magic can undo what's already been done?" The spirit howled, responding to the clash of energies. It writhed, furious and unrestrained. "You all think you can vary the terms," it bellowed. "But the debt must be settled." Charlie's limbs trembling, he looked from his mother to Peter. "You knew?" He choked, feeling splintering under the weight of revelation. "You kept this from me?" "Yes," Peter shot back, eyes narrowing. "Every choice you make ties us deeper into this. I thought I could control it." As if responding to Peter's admission, Clara raised her hands, light streaming from her fingers, dousing the shadows that lurked. "You must trust me, Charlie. We can reshape this fate together." But before Charlie could grasp the enormity of her words, the spirit lunged forward, twisting towards him, eyes blazing with fury. "Trust your blood, Charlie!" it screamed, and all at once the light and darkness collided. The impact threw everyone back. Ella cried out, falling, and Charlie scrambled to catch her. The broken pieces of the mirror scattered like fallen stars around them. When the chaos settled, everything had changed. Clara stood firm, but she was a different person now. A swell of energy coursed through her, merging with the pulse of the land. The storm quieted, but a new tension filled the air, heavy and unyielding. Charlie's mind raced with questions. Who was Clara now? What was this power within her? And what would become of their bloodlines tangled in this curse? Then, piercing through the silence, the spirit's laughter rippled, dark and mocking. "Ah, but you have awakened what you never wanted to see." The truth clawed at Charlie's heart as he processed the devouring desperation that surrounded them. The layers of their lives were peeling away, exposing raw, unseen scars. What secrets lay buried, and who would truly pay the price? Everything felt on the verge of collapse, and all he could stumble to comprehend was one harrowing thought. What would they all become? The energy in the room crackled like a tightly wound spring, ready to snap. Clara stood tall, defiance radiating from her, while Peter faltered, drowning in a sea of fear. Charlie's heart pounded loudly, echoing in his ears, as the lingering spirit writhed, its anger palpable in the thick air. Who are you, really?" Charlie whispered, the question almost lost in the chaos around him. His mind raced, confusion swirling like a storm inside. This wasn't a magical reunion. It was a confrontation. The truth hung heavily, suffocating. Suddenly, the shadows pulsed, and an agonizing shriek tore through the walls. The light Clara emitted flickered, and in that split second, Charlie's world fractured. The ground quaked beneath them, a deep roar rising from the depths of the earth, shaking the very bones of the farmhouse. The spirit let out a chilling laugh, as if it thrived on their fear. Then everything exploded. A blinding light burst from the chasm within the floor, engulfing the space around them. Charlie shielded his eyes, and when the light faded, a horrific transformation shocked him to his core. In place of the ancient spirit stood Peter, his features twisted, skin drained of color. The darkness twisted around him, wrapping him in its grip like a vice, clawing at the last remnants of his humanity. "No, not me!" he screeched, terror making his voice sharp, shrill. Clara's face fell. "Oh my God! Peter!" The room spun, chaos reigning. Shock coursed through Charlie, confusion at the forefront. "What's happening? What did you do?" he cried out, trembling hands balled into fists. "It wasn't supposed to be this way," Peter shouted, eyes wild. But then, with a sudden turn, he locked eyes with Charlie. You brought this here." His accusation struck deep, like a dagger twisting in Charlie's gut. "No, I didn't," Charlie protested, confusion pooling to despair. But Peter's laughter echoed once again, dark and twisted. "You think you can escape? We are bound together by blood, by the land. There's nowhere to hide. His transformation leveled Charlie, fear wrapping around him like chains. Clara stepped forward, her face a mix of agony and fury. "You're too far gone, Peter. This wasn't the way." Her voice rang with desperation, but regret splintered her strength. "You think you can undo the past?" Peter's laughter morphed into a higher pitch, madness rising like smoke. "I've waited too long for this." Before they could grasp the enormity of his words, a shudder ran through everyone, and Clara's expression shifted from defiance to horror. No, no, not her. That's when the reality hit Charlie like a punch to the gut. He stared, wide-eyed, as the shadows thickened, enveloping them all. Not who? But the answer came too late. Ella screamed, a sound like glass shattering, and at that moment, she was pulled into the dark mass. "Charlie!" Her voice echoed, filled with terror, as she vanished into the abyss. Time slowed, the world narrowing down to that moment as Charlie lunged forward, fingertips just grazing hers. A victory cry surged from Peter, but it crumbled into silence. Shocked disbelief plastered across his face as the shadows began to consume him too. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he wailed, and in that moment, the darkness surged and everything exploded. Everything vanished before Charlie's eyes in an all-consuming black cloud. Silence fell, thick and heavy. When the smoke cleared, the farmhouse stood intact, but the air felt changed, heavy with loss and betrayal. Clara was gone, and with her, the chance of redemption. Grasping at nothing, with trembling hands, Charlie stared into that emptiness, mind racing. He was left without his sister, without Clara, without the hope of understanding. What lay ahead? Would he be forced to live with this shadow, or was there still a way to bring them back? The questions clawed at him, exposing raw wounds. His world had shifted, and the battle had just begun. As the silence thickened and the dust floated in the air, Charlie stood frozen, grappling with a void where hope used to be. He was painfully aware of the emptiness left by Ella and Clara. His heart raced as panic clawed at his throat. The farmhouse felt like a tomb, its walls bearing witness to pain lingering in the shadows. "Stay calm. You have to stay calm," he whispered, voice trembling, barely audible above the echo of his heartbeat. But how could he? His sister was gone, swallowed by darkness. Where was she? The farm, once vibrant, now felt hollow. Memories of laughter faded into the oppressive quiet. Suddenly, the floor groaned, breaking the tension. Charlie's breath hitched, his instincts screaming at him to escape this cursed place. But he couldn't, wouldn't leave without answers. "Ella, can you hear me?" he called, voice echoing, but only silence answered. "Charlie." A voice, thin and haunted, slipped through the air like smoke. It was Ella. Hope reignited within him. "Help me! Ella!" he shouted, eyes wide, searching the shadows. He dashed toward her voice, but the room began to shift. The walls pulsed, the boundaries of reality bending. Charlie stumbled, fear tightening every muscle in his body. What was happening? The air thickened, and suddenly, an unfamiliar figure emerged. It was Clara, but not as he remembered. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, while shadows danced around her. "Charlie," she intoned, voice deeper, resonating within him. The truth must be revealed. "What truth?" he gasped, chest tightening. "What do you mean?" "Ella was never lost," she replied, her voice like a gentle breeze amidst a storm. "She hides beneath the weight of the past." The room spun. He could barely grasp her words. "What do you mean? Hides? Where is she?" Charlie's mind raced, panic surging with every word. Suddenly, the memory of their family haunted him. A darkness lurking beneath the memories. A shadow that whispered lies. "You've seen it," she murmured, her face twisting into a knowing smile. "You felt it. The blood ties. The curse is not yours alone. It is born from a betrayal." Before he could react, the room trembled and the ground beneath forth, vivid, haunting. He saw his father, a man torn between two worlds, fraught with the weight of choices made long ago. Clara's eyes widened as memories of betrayal and sorrow unfolded, echoing the cries of their family's history. Charlie staggered back, overwhelmed. "This isn't real!" he shouted, but the images only intensified, invading his senses. His father's face transformed, twisting into a monstrous echo of shame and dark ambition. Betrayal begets more betrayal. The spirit around him hissed, its voice slithering into his mind. And the bond remains unbroken. "No!" Charlie shouted. "Not like this!" He felt anger swell, a fire igniting within him as he clawed through the chaos. "You don't understand! I'll fight this!" But suddenly, a flicker caught his eye, a flash of Ella's silhouette dancing within the chaos, calling out to him. "Charlie!" Her voice came clearer now, tender yet laced with something darker. "I always knew." Those words wrapped around him like chains. Why did they feel so familiar, so haunting? "Knew what?" he demanded, sorrow tearing through him. But before he could piece it together, something within him snapped. "Ella!" he cried, but the darkness surged, shapes shifting and blending. Clara's presence felt distant, fading as the truth wrapped around his mind like vengeful tendrils. Then came the bombshell, a distortion, like a dark wave crashing against him. "Charlie, you are not who you think you are." Ella's reflection shimmered back, eyes wide with revelation. "You are tied to the curse in ways you never imagined." "No!" he screamed, shaking his head as if to free himself from the shattering revelation. "What do you mean?" And then the darkness closed in, wrapping around him, pulling him down into a swirling abyss. Everything felt like a cyclone of truth and betrayal, raw emotions clawing against his chest as he gasped for air. "Ella!" His voice broke. And just as he thought he could comprehend the enormity, he felt something soft and warm touch his cheek. A glance revealed a single tear falling from her eye. "You were always meant to uncover it." Before he could process, a deafening silence enveloped him, leaving nothing but questions lingering in the dark. What did she know? What could be more painful than this twisted legacy? As he stood at the crushing edge of the unknown, one singular thought pulled him deeper into uncertainty. Who was he really? The room spun as Charlie's eyes darted, attempting to grasp the fragments of his world, spiraling into chaos. The shadows pulsed thicker now, whispers creeping in like ice water, filling his veins. Ella's voice, strained and distant, echoed again, sending ripples through his heart. Always meant to uncover it. "What do you mean?" Panic was a heartbeat, infectious and relentless, but the storm around him quieted, not waiting for an answer. The shadows thickened, as if they were living things tightening around him. Suddenly, a flash of light ripped through the air, tearing apart the darkness. It was blinding, forcing him to shield his eyes. And then, just as quickly as it had come, everything went quiet. An unsettling silence settled over them. As the light faded, Charlie's breath caught. There she stood, not the Clara he had known, but a version twisted and dark, shadows swirling around her like angry fog. "You're too late, Charlie," she said, voice echoing with haunting familiarity. "No! This can't be real!" Charlie shouted, feeling every syllable hit the air like a stone. You're not her!" But Clara's eyes gleamed with an unsettling mixture of wisdom and fury. "I am what you won't let yourself see. The past binds us tighter than blood. You've awakened our legacy." The ground beneath them quaked again, rattling him to the core. "No, no, no!" he shouted, stepping back, breath hitching in his throat as the truth pressed against him, a crushing weight squeezing his chest. What legacy? And then it happened. A crack split open at his feet, sharp and jagged. From the chasm, a rush of memories came bursting forth. Not just his, but those of generations. Images of years past flooded his mind, flooding him with pain and betrayal. And then he saw it, a figure trapped within that darkness, a child. Young, innocent, with hair that danced like sunlit wheat. "Ella!" he cried, terror exploding inside him. But the child turned, and Charlie froze. It wasn't just Ella. "Charlie," the child said, voice soft, yet filled with an age-old knowing. "Don't let them take you." Ella's face flickered, morphing into that of a younger Clara. "What? No, you can't be." "Choose wisely, child," the shadowy figure said, her eyes dark pools of sorrow. "You were never just his or mine. You hold the truth within." Tension twisted in Charlie's stomach, clenching tightly. He felt the air shifting again. Anger, regret, fear. It swirled together in a toxic cocktail, flooding his senses. "Who am I?" he yelled, desperation rising within him like an uncontained storm. "There's power in your blood," dark Clara responded, her gaze piercing through him. "You have the capacity to uncover it or to drown in it." Suddenly, the shadows roared. A deep and guttural scream erupted from within, rippling like ocean waves crashing against the shore. Charlie staggered back, desperately reaching for anything solid, anything to hold on to. Peter's twisted features flickered before him, his figure dancing in and out of the chaos. "You thought you could escape? All of this was because of you!" "No." The rune trembled violently, and with one sweeping motion, the darkness engulfed Peter whole. A final cry echoed like thunder. Then silence reigned again, heavy and suffocating. But now a chill settled deeper into Charlie's bones. "Ella!" he cried out, but the child flickered and began to dissolve into shadows. "Wait! Don't go!" But it was too late. Darkness wrapped around them, choking the light until all was bleak. The air crackled and sparked, fear hardening into panic. The floor splintered beneath him, the lines of his world rapidly disintegrating. And then Charlie, standing at the turning point of realization. Felt a sharp pain shoot through him, deeper than anything he had ever known. A familiar grip landed on his shoulder, sending shockwaves down his spine. He turned to find Clara, not as she was, but as a swirling amalgamation of light and darkness, a harbinger of truth. "You were never meant to fight it, Charlie," she whispered, drawing him close. "You were meant to embrace it." "Embrace what?" he gasped, throat tightening. And there it was, the horrifying realization. Was he the darkness? Was this sinister curse his own birthright? The chamber of shadows continued to seep in, but he knew in that moment that questions weren't all he had to face. A choice loomed in the tightening storm. Was he to embrace his destiny or shatter into pieces? Charlie felt the walls closing in. What awaited him at the center of it all? What if he was the one they were waiting for all along? The shadows lingered, hungry for answers, pulling him deeper. In that deepening silence, with the weight of his past closing in, one question loomed. What was that curse, really? And could he ever escape its grasp? The air hung thick with uncertainty, confusion swirling like a storm, threatening to break. Charlie stood at the edge of everything he thought he knew. Clara's presence flickered around him, an echo of warmth, entwined with shadows. Ella was lost in this chaos. But he couldn't grasp the truth. His heart raced, pounding like a drum in the suffocating silence. "Was it truly me?" he whispered, struggling to comprehend. Each breath felt like a weight on his chest, an anchor pulling him deeper into despair. The chasm at his feet churned ominously, and he felt it call out to him, a dark invitation to step into the unknown. Then it happened. A blinding flash erupted from the depths of the earth. Charlie stumbled back, shielding his eyes against the searing light. The intensity was unbearable, illuminating the room with a pure brilliance that knocked the shadows away. And then, just as suddenly, the light imploded, folding in on itself with a deafening crack. When the silence fell again, Charlie blinked, trying to understand. Everything felt different. The air felt lighter, yet charged with a strange energy. He looked around, searching for answers. And then, at the center of the room, a figure stepped forward, rising from the remnants of the light. It was Ella. "Ella?" he gasped, disbelief flooding his veins. But something was off. Her presence shimmered, a radiant glow wrapping around her. Her eyes, once familiar, gleamed with a brightness that pierced through his heart. "Charlie," she began, her voice melodic, but layered with something he couldn't place. "The curse, it's not what you think." "What do you mean?" Panic laced every word, twisting his stomach in knots. "What's happening?" A shaky breath escaped her, filled with apprehension. "We aren't the victims, Charlie. We're part of it, bound to this land. You—" her voice stuttered before she pressed on. "You have to understand. The power within you is more than you can imagine." "What power?" he cried, desperate. "What are you saying?" And then, in an instant, the shadows flickered again. They rose from the ground, swirling around them like a tornado, rising higher and higher until they encased Ella. Panic surged within Charlie. "Ella, no!" But then, the darkness pulled away a veil, revealing another truth. I released you to save us. Ella's voice resonated, echoing with authority. I'm not who you think I am. Time seemed to halt. Charlie felt his heart drop. What? What do you mean? Ella took a step forward, her glow intensifying. I was never just your sister, she confessed, eyes blazing with truth. I'm the keeper of the curse. I always have been. But now, her gaze turned intense, locking onto his. Now it's your turn to choose. The ground beneath them shivered, quaking with a new sense of dread. No, this isn't right! He staggered back, breathless. You can't mean! You're lying! But the truth twisted the air between them. I'm not lying. We can change everything, but only if you embrace the darkness. In that moment, shadows closed in, whispering secrets. Charlie reeled, realizing the gravity of her words. This was not just a family drama. It was something far more sinister. Unseen threads twisted around them, and in the dark corners of his mind, he felt the stirrings of his own potential. Charlie, Ella cried, stepping closer, the glow threatening to dim. You have to trust me. And then it tore through him like lightning. You knew, all along, he gasped, betrayal curling his thoughts. You knew how twisted this was. I was trapped, just like you. I took control to survive. The weight of her truth struck him like a blow, and suddenly he saw it all. The family legacy, the laughter, the pain. It all tied back to them, bound by choices that twisted their reality. The ground trembled again, but this time it felt different. Like a heartbeat, it pulsed, alive. The storm outside roared to life, forcing its way into the house, rattling it to its core. And at the center of this chaos, two siblings stood, faced with a choice that could change their lives forever. Tension mounted as the winds howled around them. Could he accept this new reality? Was this truly the choice he wanted to make? His breath caught, the weight of his bloodline crashing over him. And as the cacophony swirled, another figure emerged from the depths, cloaked in uncertainty. A shadow with a familiar presence. It chuckled softly, eyes glinting in the chaos. Did you really think you could escape your fate? Charlie's heart sank deeper. Who was this? Was there no escaping the darkness? Would he unravel everything for the sake of power? Or lose the only family he had left? The storm outside raged on, mirroring the storm within, and one question ripped through the air. Would they take the leap together, or was betrayal their only future? The air crackled with tension, shadows swirling like an angry tide. Charlie's heart thudded painfully in his chest, barely keeping pace with the chaos around him. Ella's glow pulsed with an intensity that felt nearly otherworldly, but beneath the shine was a growing darkness he couldn't shake. You were never meant to uncover this. Her voice trembled, each word echoing with urgency. There was no time to ponder. Something was shifting in the room, a deep rumble thrumming through the floor beneath their feet. The walls seemed to breathe, alive with the history of their family's secrets. Charlie sensed it too, the coming storm of revelation. Ella, please, just tell me what to do. Panic clawed at him, raw and desperate. But before she could respond, there came a violent crack, like thunder splitting the sky. The ground buckled, fissures racing across the floorboards. Charlie fell to his knees, fear curling in his gut, as he looked up just in time to see Ella's glow dim, flicker, then hurtle toward him. As if drawn by an invisible force. "Charlie!" she cried out, but the sound twisted and blurred, merging with the chaos of the moment. Suddenly, everything dropped into an suffocating silence. The air thickened, oppressive, and all he could? Here was the pounding of his own heart. Then, from the depths of the darkness, emerged a figure. Not the shadow he'd been expecting, but something different, something familiar yet grotesque. "Mom?" he gasped, recognizing the twisted face emerging from the shadows. Her hair was wild, eyes burning like ember coals. The air around her shimmered, the space imbuing a sense of dread. "What are you doing here?" "I've come to end this," she said, voice low and ominous, whispering like secrets left unspoken. "You think you can change the past? You are bound by blood to this darkness." "What do you mean?" His voice was barely a whisper, confusion flooding his mind as realizations cut deeper than any. "Knife!" Ella screamed, a sound laced with anguish. "No, Mom, don't!" But it was too late. With a sudden movement, the air rippled, distorting everything around. Charlie felt a surge of something, a pull that knocked the wind from his lungs. "Ella!" he shouted, reaching out, but all he grasped was emptiness. The shadows swallowed her whole, engulfing her light. For an instant, he felt a flicker of warmth through the chaos, but it was fleeting. What just happened? Panic surged anew as he watched helplessly, tears threatening to spill. She spoke. "You see, my dear brother, the truth was never about us. It's about understanding our true inheritance." What are you?" His heart raced, confusion spiraling with every twisted revelation. Her laugh echoed, strange and hollow. "I am everything you feared, everything you tried to deny. I'm what you could have become." Just then, from the depths of despair, an explosion of energy erupted, throwing him backward. The walls shivered and buckled, threatening to cave in. He sprawled on the ground, the brightness enveloping him, blurring reality. "Choose, Charlie." Ella's voice pierced through the mayhem, desperate and urgent. "You must choose before it's too late." As darkness drew near again, everything started to crystallize. Connections, memories, emotions, as if. He was looking through a fractured mirror, reflecting 1,000 lives. He glanced back at the twisted version of his sister, horror dawning like a cold sunrise. In that charged moment, something snapped deep within his heart. The curse, the bloodlines, the choices clawing at each other. They all wove a tapestry too intricate to ignore. But how could he untangle it? With a fierce determination rushing through him, Charlie stood up, fists clenched. "I will fight this," he shouted, voice slicing through the shadows. "I choose my path." And in that instant, a flash of understanding rushed through him. I am not just a victim of this legacy. But darkness coiled tighter, shadows roaring, and suddenly he realized. Can you ever escape your true self? Or was he meant to fall into that legacy all along? The finality of his thoughts hung heavy, uncertainty eating at his resolve as the storm raged around him. What would it cost him to make such a choice? The ultimate price was yet to be revealed. As the storm raged around him, Charlie felt the suffocating grip of uncertainty. The shadows danced with a malevolent energy, pulling at him with unseen hands. "Ella!" he shouted. searching desperately for his sister's light amidst the encroaching darkness. The air crackled around him, raw with tension. "I'm here," her voice echoed, tinged with fear. "Listen, you have to face this." The ground trembled beneath him, and he could feel the weight of their family's past pressing down. Clara's twisted spirit loomed over them, whispering secrets that cut through the air like knives. Charlie's heart raced, pumping adrenaline through his veins. He knew he had to make a choice: fight or succumb to the darkest parts of his ancestry. "Tell me the truth," he yelled, determination igniting in his chest. "What do I have to do?" Ella's glow flickered back to him, flickering like a distant star. "You must claim your inheritance, Charlie. Embrace the shadows and rewrite the story." The shadows began to swirl around him, clinging to his skin like mist. Each whisper felt like a memory tugging at his mind. His father, his mother, all their decisions woven into this dark legacy. The ache in his heart deepened, tightening around him. "But what if I can't control it? Then you risk losing everything," she cried, urgency ringing clear in her voice. Charlie inhaled sharply, each breath heavy with the weight of his choice. The light around Ella dimmed as she pleaded with him. "You can do this. I believe in you." Moving toward her, he saw the warmth of her spirit shining through the chaos, and something shifted within him. The fear that gripped him turned to a fierce resolve. "No more! I won't be shackled by this curse any longer." As if responding to his defiance, the shadows pulsed. Charlie stepped forward, arms outstretched. "I accept what I am." His voice boomed through the darkness, fierce and unwavering. "But I choose who I'll become." In that moment, the shadows recoiled, releasing their hold. The ground shook violently, but Charlie stood firm, anchored by his newfound purpose. A brilliant light erupted from within him, washing over the room, illuminating every corner. He was no longer a victim. He was the master of his destiny. Ella's gaze brightened, filled with hope. "Yes, that's it!" The golden glow enveloped her as she reached for him, their spirits merging in a radiant embrace. In a flash, the twin forces of light and darkness collided, each fueled by their shared family history, their pain, and their love. The room erupted with blinding energy, sending the twisted spirit of their mother into a swirl of light and shadows, dispersing the darkness until finally there was nothing left. As silence settled like soft snow, Charlie blinked, heart racing, unsure if he dared to breathe. Ella stood beside him, whole and radiant. "We did it, Charlie. We broke the curse." Tears of relief streamed down her face, and in that moment, everything felt right. But as the dust began to settle, Charlie could not ignore the unease creeping back. The echoes of his memories lingered, whispering promises of what else awaited them in the future. "But what now?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Ella smiled, the warmth of her spirit igniting hope within him. "Now we rewrite our family's story, together." With a final glance around the empty farmhouse, they stepped outside into the crisp air. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean, yet waiting for their next move. Their journey was far from over, but they would face it together, hand in hand, unafraid of what tomorrow might bring. And just like that, they took their first steps into the dawn of their new life. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss upcoming exclusive stories. With your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now.